chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You can hear with some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Sabrina Speaks, the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. I'm your host, Sabrina Turner. It is indeed a pleasure to be back here with you this Thursday, the eve before Friday. How has your day been? I hope that you're winding down. Yeah, literally, not wind down Friday because it's still Thursday. But I hope that you've had a very productive day and that you've had a blast. And, just a quick heads up. The content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself and guests, is intended solely for general informational and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional, legal, medical, or financial advice. So I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for specific concerns. Sabrina Speaks on all of our platforms disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented. So there we go. We've had our housekeeping. And if you're loving the content shared here on this platform, I encourage you to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Well, unfortunately, yesterday, circumstances beyond my control, I heard that the voltage was so high on this and where we were going with the conversation that we blew a blooming transformer. OMG. But here we have it. It was something, to be honest with you, because I had never done a Facebook Live. And then I had my technical team, Sandra, she was calling, just do a hotspot, just do this hotspot. What is that? Yeah, anyhow, we did it. I managed to do a live, and thank you to Jim and to Jasaria who helped me get the message out there. But what an afternoon it was. But here we are today, and I promise you that I would continue that conversation. And Miss Connie, you're first to comment, and I am noticing that you have been the first to class pretty much all week thus far. Keep it up. I noticed Jim was trying to race you to the finish line, but you beat him first. Hoot, hoot. Good for you. Hi, good evening to you both. And also Miss Connie, no weapon formed against you this evening shall prosper. And you know what? I did a little thing, Connie. You're right. I did a little. I am really playing with all of this social media stuff. And who would have ever told me at 51 Sabrina would be making reels and sitting down trying to pose, looking pretty. No one could have told me that I was ready for this. But I did a post just now, and I tried to do a video to put on a reel on, I think, the Instagram, which, by the way, I'm also streaming live on all the CMR platforms, cmrtv.com, and also at Sabrina Speaks, the number 12 on Instagram. And I have a YouTube channel as well, at Sabrina Speaks, the number 12. So, and again, you can find me on Facebook, Sabrina Turner, right there on Facebook. I think it has community activists. But yeah, I said on that, always believe something good is about to happen. And honestly, that was so profound that I see that literally every day, all day. But today, something hit home with me on that. And I decided then to post that picture of me as I waited to go live and present to you today. And the song that came up was so fitting. Don't ask me who's the artist, but it just made sense. So if you're on Instagram, you can go on there at Sabrina Speaks 12 and see that story that I posted, but listen to the words of the song. It's amazing. So, but yeah, we're streaming every weekday from 5 until 6:30. Sometimes you pull me out till 7, and all the CMR platforms. That's on Instagram, Facebook, and like I said, YouTube as well. And you can follow me directly as well at Sabrina Speaks the number 12 on YouTube and also on Instagram. So yes, Connie, you gotta laugh. I was laughing at myself, my dear. Cayman Brack, the best island. Yeah, watching from the bluff. Oh, the breeze up there must be wonderful. And the views I know are spectacular, but always good to have you in the house. Yeah, Jim, Connie pushed me out of the way and in the hallway. I literally have the vision of that happening, but that's too funny. The two of you are something. Good evening, Miss Donnette, another one of our big supporters and fans right here on the Sabrina Speaks. And Shaq, hello, Shaq, streaming from definitely YouTube. And go girl. Ann Stevens in the house. You commenting. Girl, how you doing? I'm actually mimicking Anne, for the record. Anybody who knows my friend Anne, we go way back. She's like, Sabrina child. Yeah, that's Anne. Lots of love to you, Anne. It's a pleasure to see you streaming live from Facebook. Good to have you here with us. Miss Connie, yep, I was doing something. Just Sarah, good afternoon, my love. And she's also sending loves and best wishes out to the entire Cayman Islands. Shaka Zulu, the man is in the house. Hi, good afternoon. Pleasure to have you here. Yeah, Connie, you and Jim, I would love to see that on a track. I would die laughing. Roar Cayman, beautiful lady. Thank you so much for the kind compliment. It says what you're feeling inside radiates externally. And I can tell you, I give God thanks every day, but I am at a good place with myself right now. And in all honesty, I just give God thanks. I give God thanks for where I'm at emotionally, getting to know myself, learn myself, accept myself for who I am, and never given anybody control over my joy and my emotions. And that's what you're seeing. But I give God thanks for everything that I've endured, everything that I'm about to experience. There's a reason for everything. And I'm at a good place mentally and emotionally right now. And thanks to you for making it definitely nugget in my life and bringing this to fruition. Without you guys, I don't know how things would be, but he has a bigger plan for me. Yeah, and see, I got that little heart from you. Jim, see, Connie, Jim is saying hi to Connie. Yeah, good evening from Atlanta. Hi, Rose. Pleasure. Oh, the USA fan. And I know we got some over there in Plantation, Fort Lauderdale. We got a Filipino crew as well. And we definitely got the UK people that are staying up for this show. So it's amazing. Yeah. See there? Look at there. Look. Connie's even sending Jim a hug. Oh, virtual hugs to everyone. This is so fun. Yes, it is indeed a pleasure. Lisa Brightly, good evening. Beautiful as always. Thank you. Again, what's inside is radiating outside. And you guys assist in that. But it is always a pleasure to be back here with you. And like we say, we're going to speak all positive energy into the universe today. And CUC is going to keep us on the grid. Oh, yeah, they're going to keep us on the grid this evening. But one thing I learned with that is definitely I need to look at an alternate source of backup for energy here so that nothing will interrupt us and that the continuation will actually go should that ever happen again. It could have happened if I really understood, to be honest, how I could transition this hotspot and all kind of spot. As a woman, 51, there's only one. Yeah, all the ladies will catch the joke. But yeah, that was a bit nerve-wracking yesterday because all of this stuff had to start back up. And even though we had electricity, It took a little while for everything to reboot, but I thank you for those who were still with me, even though the screen was black. And I tried to just get it back as quickly as possible. But guess what? We're here today. We're going to continue with the discussion, and you're always welcome to join in and participate. I've gotten good feedback. I even got messages as well from persons who were actually very interested with me sharing the knowledge as I look at empowering Caymanian employment through the Workforce Opportunities and Residence Cayman, better known as WORC's Jobs Portal. So, for full disclosure, I'm not coming after the department. I'm not coming after anyone. This space, as I said at the beginning of this podcast, is for information, to educate, and to just show the obvious, and so that we can learn in this space. That's all it's about. So we don't want anybody up in their feelings or feeling any way. And you're welcome to actually share your experiences, which I see you've been doing in the comments. That's welcome. That's the only way we're going to actually solve a lot of these problems. And I want you to get out of that shell. I don't want you to be scared anymore. There's no reason for you to be scared to just have open discussion. And you know what? We make friends along the way. You never can tell what networking opportunities are actually being had right here. And people could either come through me or reach out directly for you. So your voice matters. You have a voice. This is a platform, and we're definitely going to elevate you. Hi, Miss Novia Bustillo. Hola, ¿cómo está? Yes, I know a little bit of Spanish, but when I stop, that means I'm no more. Hey, Miss Lisa, you're absolutely right. Beauty does start inside, and then it flows to the outside. That is so true. I give you a little joke, and I'm going to share this with you all this evening. I went somewhere, and somebody looked at me and says, "Oh, Miss Sabrina, so good to see you." They said, "You're glowing." I said, "Thank you so much." A little bun in the oven. Then I looked down. I said, "Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no." I said, "That's joy. That's joy." But again, a little Thursday humor. They thought I was glowing because probably I was expecting, "Oh, no, those days are done. Those days are done." But I welcome the compliments, and exactly, it is what you're feeling inside. So there you go, Connie. I think I need to go grab a red stripe light. What? You're bringing in Friday early? Leave that for tomorrow. We got an excellent guest lined up, and that's going to be a very good show as well. It's planned to be a good show. Definitely tomorrow, as you know, we wind down Fridays and we do cheers. But, Connie, go girl. You look like you're a woman in my heart. You kick it off early. Like and share up the live, guys. Yeah. Good day, Smith Campbell Smith. Yeah. And when it comes to WORC, nothing gets resolved. We're going to change that narrative. Kim and Brack, the best island. We're going to change that narrative because we're going to definitely air it out here. I'm not only pointing out ills on this forum, I'm going to give suggested solutions and ideas as well, and general cause that for concern or that persons can actually keep on the forefront of their minds. And so we're not gonna say that nothing gets resolved. The Cayman Islands is at a crossroads, and I feel that the powers at be, including a lot of those departments, are listening to forums such like this, and they are listening. And the operational arm is one thing for better customer service. You've heard right here on this space. Mr. Manderson is looking every day, the deputy governor, who's responsible for the civil service, is looking at innovative ways and making sure that the experiences that are offered in the customer service, the level of customer service continues to improve. But you don't need a ranting host all the time. People need to hear from persons like yourselves who actually use these spaces and hear it firsthand. And I am going to bring up some very topical subjects. Some conversations may be difficult to have, but with respect, it's good to hear it from all sides. I am in no case, in no way intended to be biased, too far left, too far right. You saw where I was getting into the conversation yesterday, and I was looking at the cultures and the behaviors of some organizations, and then I went to the reality of what people are saying about our Caymanians, and that was when the transformer blew. So yeah, that was real talk. But before I go back in and pick up where I left off yesterday, let me just remind everyone today that sometimes you forget that you're amazing. So this is your reminder. Think about that. Let that sink in a little bit. Every one of you are amazing. And so let this little message of hope be that reminder. Sometimes you forget that. All in the weeds, worrying about the kids, worrying about this, worrying about that. When was the last time you really looked in the mirror and says, I am beautiful. I'm amazing. Try it, even if you do it after this show, and leave me a comment. I'd like to see exactly how you feel after that. So let's get on with the conversation. And I'm going to go straight into a comment that was made yesterday on the feed, but I didn't get to the comment because, of course, of what happened. One of the commenters on the feed yesterday said, "Good evening, Sabrina. For years, I've been saying work permit fees are big revenue for government. Caymanians do not pay direct taxes, contribute to the government coffers. Henceforth, as long as a government depends on this revenue, it would be like cutting a hole in the bottom of their piggy bank. In fact, I know one person who received a letter from a government official stating that they are encouraged not to hire inside this jurisdiction." Well, I gotta be honest with you, I was deflated when I read that. And I read it twice, especially the last portion of the comment. And in fact, I'll read it over. I know of one person who received a letter from a government official stating that they are encouraged not to hire inside this jurisdiction. End of message. That's pretty sad if that is indeed factual. Not that I'm doubting the commenter. I have no reason to doubt the commenter because it was placed in a public space. But if that was indeed the case, why is that? We went into the conversation yesterday stating that some persons are saying we're angry, we are entitled, our attitudes needs to be adjusted. Some only work for Friday, or they work X amount of days, they meaning Caymanians, and then on Monday they can't come to work. If we are honestly going to be empowering Caymanian employment in general, we need to also do self-checks on ourselves, because for far too often, this has been the line used. I am aware that one particular government official had an opportunity to speak in regards to a Caymanian person to a HR department of an organization, and how that government official actually gave a reference about the Caymanian was, you can't do anything with that Caymanian. And if this place indeed was mine, I would never have employed that Caymanian. The sad part is, when we actually sit down and tear down each other like that, you do not even know who's listening. If I go a little bit too much or much more into that, it may reveal exactly who. But I've said enough because it aligns with exactly that message that was actually posted from yesterday's show. And I'm hearing too much of that. So has the time come that we have to self-reflect as a nation and possibly have to do some adjustments to ourselves? I am being as fair and as neutral as possible. For far too long, yes, I agree, that we feel we were not being given the chance in order to excel in certain organizations. And then some people are saying You will excel if you go and you get this degree and that degree and this degree and that degree, but you're doing the job. And when they look then at a work permit holder coming into the same workplace, they only know that they have declared these degrees on paper, but then the very said Caymanian is asked then to train that individual or those individual. That, my friends, is a slap in the face. So tying it around to the whole purpose of this jobs portal is, again, why it's key for the data to be dumped in there, for persons to register, because for far too long, that story has been resonating and we're feeling that we can't fight anymore. I am praying today that persons no longer feel that they can't fight anymore. I want you to stand up, but I want you, before going off the handle, also do self-check. Sometimes you can ask the question, would I employ myself? It is being said that a lot of people are actually looking at social media websites and people's web pages when you send in a resume. Your judge of character also depends on what you post on your public social media pages. LinkedIn is a huge one. But in addition to LinkedIn, they're also doing deep searches on Facebook, on Instagram, and Snapchat. Some people will say, well, what the heck does that have to do if I have a master's degree in this and I have a master's degree in that? But also have to be mindful that on and off the clock, unfortunately, you represent the organization you're employed. Some people may actually tend to differ or have a different opinion on that, saying that when I'm off the clock, I'm on my time, and what I do in my personal life is my business. That is a topic up for discussion. But look at the way in which and what you post and what you subscribe to as well on your social media pages. Sometimes people will just say, oh my gosh, I'm not going there. Let's look at what Miss Livana. Welcome, Miss Livana. Good evening. Pleasure to have you here with us. William Spencer Levy says, very true. Been happening for years. Caymanians end up training their expats replacement. Yes. And it's really a slap in the face, to be honest. And I agree with you, William. But we're looking at it in its totality now. So when you look at the effectiveness of this whole WORC portal, yesterday we went into past criticisms and user friendliness. We've already checked that off. Lack of progress and assessment. We're realizing, even on some of the comments that were shared here, that some persons were listed on this jobs portal and they have never ever been contacted by WORC. Now let's look at the circumvention of this platform by even employers. Some employers may still attempt to circumvent the system to recruit foreigners, workers at the disadvantage of local people. Who is actually monitoring that? Remember yesterday I said that many times some of the advertisements are actually taken off of a website or an organization, and the very staff, sometimes managers, post it on their personal social media pages. And then they're inviting their friends to apply here. But again, should a work permit be needed, this position will still have to be uploaded. But does it actually have an unfair advantage to the locals who may also qualify when they have already pretty much handpicked somebody for the job that was actually advertised outside? Now, that circumvention does not only be based on posting, They're job ads that are tailored sometimes specifically for a friend or for a particular individual. This is why it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky, to be honest. When these job descriptions are actually done, that the work permit board and the business staffing plan board really has their work cut out for them. Because some of those advertisements can be so convincing that it actually goes so detailed that it makes it even impossible for a local to meet the requirement. But all of a sudden, this one comes from Timbuktu. Oh, they checked every box. Being alert and paying more attention to some of these resumes and how the ads are actually worded probably needs a little bit more scrutiny as well, because I can tell you that is prevalent. The job description, the advertisement can be tailored for a specific individual, making it almost impossible when you compare a resume to the ad. But that should be easy to pick up. It should be. And based on the requirement of WRC for the work permit board or the business staffing plan board, you should be giving a breakdown of, let's say, the amount of Caymanians, that's who we're looking for, and residents who may have been shortlisted for the position. But this is why this foreigner, this one requiring the work permit, has surpassed them. And you should be able, or they should be submitting with that application all of those other Caymanians and residents that applied with a detailed reason and description as to why they weren't successful for the board then to make a decision. So that's really how the job tailoring and trying to circumvent the portal from the employer's standpoint could actually be looked at. Let's go on here. Ms. Carol Jackson, so true. Jim has a comment. I strongly feel a course should be taught in the high schools on interviewing techniques, how to prepare yourself for an interview, how to dress for an interview, how to provide a firm handshake, eye contact, not to be fidgety, prepare some of your own questions for the interview, also what the potential employers are expecting. Timely, self-motivated, dependable, and so on. Great points. Great points. And these are some of the things that could be added as extracurricular activities at school. We know that there's a school year is about to begin. These are all of the things that YMCA as well could do. This is possibly another job creation that could be done, another business venture that someone could actually look into, Jim. It's not all about monetizing, but if we're saying we are empowering Caymanian employment, and I have said here over and over, we need to create an innovative space where we can find innovators, where we can actually look outside the box and create job opportunities and business opportunities and provide a different model. But you're quite right, Jim. This is something that should be looked at, but people need to also understand the importance of investing in ourselves. This of just putting I'm Caymanian or a status holder or permanent resident spouse of a Caymanian should not be enough. What you have encapsulated in your comment are building blocks, a lot of the things that come into a package of one presenting themselves. I said here, you never get a second time to make a first impression. And even walking into a room, you carry an aura, you carry a presence that could be a total turn off, or the first couple of seconds, someone would know whether or not it's worth giving you my undivided attention. So your resume or your credentials, you making that first cover letter, how you even fill out the application is one thing. Everything now is downloaded or uploaded to a site, yada, yada, yada. But even your choice of words can make a huge difference in whether or not someone wants to continue looking at one's application. However, I do have a lot of my Caymanians feeling that the first detractor or the first negative against them is being Caymanian. How can we change that culture? How can we get you into the door? How can we get HR professionals in all departments to really give us a chance? If you do a self-check and you try to make those improvements on yourself, as Jim alluded here, how you present yourself, clean up your social media pages. It's not saying that you're trying to be fake. It's just real. We're preparing you for the real world because you never know what other doors, what other opportunities awaits, that we just need someone to give you a chance. And we need to deep dive into why that culture continues here and why Caymanians feels that they're placed at a disadvantage just for being Caymanian. And I know I have heard this from even persons who have acquired Caymanian status say it, that everything changed once they got their permanent residence, once they got their Caymanian status. Why is that? So it tells me it's not just an individual problem. It tells me we need to do a culture check in employment practices. And this can only be done by holding organizations and businesses accountable. And we have persons in our government sector that is able to do that. That's the only how we're going to get into exactly why Caymanians feel that they're not given a chance. People just need to have hope. But if what is being felt, that just being Caymanian is a no, why should they not feel deflated? You have a platform like this that actually is a catalyst to put us in the right direction. But it will require continuous collaboration. And we will need feedback from everyone who is feeling like this country has done them and is doing them a disservice. We should not have our own out there, and talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. We need to see action. We need to see more, but it's not just action from your elected arm. Please understand what I'm about to say or what I'm saying. Some of us really and truly need an attitude adjustment. We need to look at the workplace totally different. Half of the people who are invited here by persons who either have status to work for a company that has Caymanians at the helm. We cannot continue to go down this road where we're feeling as though we're left out. But I do have to say the truth. Some of us are coming in with an attitude that, I could be honest with you, I would have to think twice in whether or not I would employ you. That is not being prejudicial in any way, but I'm willing to give people a chance if they're willing to invest in themselves and to see themselves. You have heard it right here, that in government, they're actually earmarking positions that will only be occupied by Caymanians. Some of the commentary received saying all positions should be open for Caymanians. What I got from that message that was actually aired here is that they're just certain jobs. Now, what those positions are, I'm quite sure government will release that. The deputy governor will say exactly what those roles are and go in more detail. Let's hope that they're not just a lower tier. But that is actually, the mere fact that they're earmarking certain position is a step. But Caymanians should not be just good enough to work back office in the restaurant industry to wash dishes. No, be bigger and better than that. But then when some of us really break that glass ceiling and make it there, another complaint is that you forget your own. You forget your own. And the Caymanians who have managed to reach where not many have reached are the ones then who start treating them badly. Let's hear what Aliano. Hi, Aliano. Good evening. I hope you've had a good day out there and what you do during the day. Jim, in my own experiences, many of these young Caymanians aren't prepared for an interviewer. They do not get the direction to be prepared for the real world. Well, this is why this space is here. And I'm hoping that, again, that somebody will run off with this as an idea and probably just start small. There is obviously a need, and I think that is a part of some of the courses that WORC is offering as well to help you prepare. But then there are other social issues and other social barriers that has been actually cited as to why some Caymanians are finding it difficult to remain stable in their job because of transportation, because of childcare, because of probably some disability or medical issues. And that is really a fine line. Let's have the real talk. When somebody applies for a job in any organization, you would have satisfied that organization that you come with the skill sets in order to do the job. They can go personal with you to ask, are there any child, is there a child, children? And no one should be actually disenfranchised should they have a medical condition. Okay, that's straight up. Once you're capable and able to do the job that you sign up for and you entered into an agreement, that can't be and shouldn't be used against you. But what actually discussions are being had, and I have heard, is that many times personal household issues impair one's performance in the workplace. And it is for that reason an employer or a business who needs to generate revenue that may require you presenting to work in order to pay you, they did not employ your issues. It's not that they don't care, but they did not employ that the babysitter didn't come, that you bucked your toe, that the weekend you went out and you were just trashed and you just couldn't show up to work. These are all ills. These are all ills that with a good HR relationship as well, if you go in and you explain your situation, I'm quite sure they will work with you, but that is only for short term. Because remember, when you cannot show up for the position in which you were employed to fill, whatever days you are out, if you can't do your role remotely, that means somebody else is tasked with all of that. Not to tell you that persons on work permit don't have issues too. We are delving down into why the culture is so prominent that Caymanians are the worst persons to employ. So please don't misread what I'm sharing here in this space. We're just airing it out as to some of the deterrents in why persons say, I do not want a Caymanian in my business. They don't show up on Monday. Thursday, they'll show up, or when they get paid, they don't work out a full week based on what industry. That needs to stop. I really want to hear much less than that. And like Jim is saying here, more preparation needs to be done in how you prepare and even show up for an interview, which is good that we have all of these job fairs. It's good that our young people coming out of school and so forth are actually exposed to really what it is. And this is why I think the partnership, private-public partnership is key. Now, not to miss any of these comments, let me just take a pause. Jim, there are far too many passed over. Aliano, exactly. Caymanian are Caymanian's worst enemy. Miss Marjorie, a lot of Caymanians who fail an interview were my best employers. A lot of Caymanians who failed an interview were my best employees. Aliano further says, it's simple. First generation migrated can't hold government or civil service job positions work top management position that is critical, and that would be a latched key role. So Aliano, I want to make sure I understand you. It's simple. First generation migrated can't hold government or civil service jobs. Positions work top management position that is critical, and that would be a latchkey role. I'm not so sure, but I'm thinking, are you saying then that persons who climb the ladder, it's hard for them to get out of the cycle, it's hard of getting out of the line, because once they get there, they're pretty much perched there and it's hard to be removed. Some people are actually promoted just out of courtesy and respect. But again, when you look at earning a promotion versus being given a promotion, you tend to see a difference in attitude when somebody actually earn it versus given it. And I'm hoping I'm on the right role here, but there is a huge difference. Favoritism don't work. Friendships don't work. However, again, Caymanians are very vocal in regards to that aspect, that the friends of friends are actually more prevalent now in persons who are non-Caymanians, and that is further limiting the opportunities for locals to actually be given positions in some of these workplaces. Jim is saying, many don't understand, some don't care. When not showing up, how it affects the entire team and or schedule, just trying to cover their absence. You're quite right. Anyone who's operated a business, and worse if you're a small business, each person, small or micro business, each person plays a critical role in business continuity. And this whole concept of, so what? I got 10 days sick leave. If I don't show up, they'll figure it out. That's, unless you're genuinely sick, you're actually interrupting the very same organization that is paying you a salary. Now, it's different if you're genuinely sick and you have, according to the labor law, you have compassionate leave, there additional leave and so forth that you can get once it can be proven as legit. Any organization, any employer will be understanding of that fact, because that's just life. But this thing of using it because you just don't want to show up to work, and know that it's a process to get rid of you, or using this thing that you're going to beat your chest that I'm Caymanian and what are you going to do? I'm going to report you to immigration. That is really not a reflection of who we all are. And some of us honestly are doing all we can as Caymanians to get our foot into the doors. But I'm going to be honest with you. The stigma that is put on a lot of Caymanians is that our attitude stinks. And we need to change that narrative. And that is why spaces like this, conversations like this, we're going to change that narrative. And we're going to see, of course, public and private, an adjustment in that, so that persons in key positions no longer have that to say about their very own Caymanians. And it needs to stop. But we also, as I said earlier on, need to do a self-reflection. Even if you're self-employed, your attitude needs to be adjusted. How you meet and greet and deal with your staff is key. Because the work environment, that just exactly what people are saying, oh, I'm glowing, I'm this and I'm that. It's how you feel within. That actually spills over into your employees if you are an employer. Toxic environments don't help anybody either. Hi, Michelle Woods. Good evening. Late, but you're here. Better late than never. Hey, Shaq. As an HR professional, wow, I'm learning you. I can confirm that many Caymanians often submit job applications that aren't tailored to the job description and frequently come to interviews unprepared. Shaq, you do not know what that means to this space. Again, it goes back to what I said yesterday. If you have never been contacted by work, you probably need to go back and look at how you've presented. But Shaq, I'll challenge you. How much Caymanians really do not get the job? And as an HR professional, are you allowed to go back and just give some constructive criticism to that Caymanian who may feel that, look, I went to an interview at ABC organization and I just did not get the job. I didn't hear anything. I was short. Okay, for example, I got the interview. I was shortlisted. And then bang, sorry, you weren't successful. Do you feel, Shaq, that maybe some form of explanation as to where that person fell short? Because everyone should teach one. That's the only how we're going to get better. As an HR professional, do you think it's possibly that there is time, the time has come, that when especially our Caymanians who may not be even aware of where they're falling short, that it would be wise that you take just a little bit more time in communicating why they're unsuccessful at this time because of bang, 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 bang. Food for thought. And everybody in the human resources industry or in that space, would you take that into consideration? Because I remember a case in my role as a minister, and Caymanians are thinking that as a minister, an elected MP, we can say, employ this person, and that is not the case. Had someone who applied for a job in a department to which fell under my ministerial responsibility, were totally upset that they had not been successful. I get to understand that one of the reasons that actually they were not successful is because in the interview, they were saying they love to play Candy Crush. Now, at what part of the interview was that? That was only one of the areas. But even in the discussion, in the interview, there was a level of hostility, like they got real Caymanian and, well, I just want a job here. I want to work here. Yeah. That was similar to what little bit was shared with me. My question then was, at what point? Because they kept reapplying to this organization and they kept getting turned down because they kept repeating the same thing, what they love to do on their phones. But at no point, and I stand to be corrected, was that ever communicated to that individual. Which is why, Shaq, I'm saying what I'm saying. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks.
Good evening, Sabrina. It's
Hi.
Carrie from the Bluff. How you doing?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you.
First of all, I just want to say this. I understand some of the woes that HR management has to go through when hiring some of our people, but that's not just our people that go through that. They go through that with. They just highlight our people even more so that they can get more work permits approved. That's basically the gist of that. And I can afford to tell you that is fact. And the other issue is the WORC really are doing a poor job. And I'm going to be honest here. I'm not going to cuss. I'm just going to be honest.
We have to agree to disagree.
They have a very poor history or a culture of doing further in-depth inspections into things if they really want to. They handpick and select who they want to do that again. In fact, they have done that against me so many times. I wonder if I'm not their poster child now for being involved in their constant investigations and stuff that end up not being in their favor. Anyhow, my point of all of this is when the WORC started this platform to aid with Caymanian employment, it was just for Caymanians. Do you know that this platform is for anybody? Anybody who is here on a permit looking another job can go and register. Anybody that got PR, anybody is just whatever can go and register on that portal. It's not just for Caymanians, and that's where we have been misled so often. They came out and promoted this as it was for Caymanians only, but it is not. And the other side of the blade of the sword that slits our throats under the Immigration Transition Act is the fact that businesses can write in to the WORC. I think it's policy. I don't recall seeing it in the law. And they can request for that application they've submitted or going to submit not to have to advertise the job.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not fair to a lot of people because it's not just one caliber of jobs. And don't tell me are people not up there in the high-end jobs too.
Mm-hmm.
We have them that are overseas right now that would love to come home
Mm-hmm.
because they would be making those salaries, but they can't get those jobs because those jobs are waived for advertising
Mm-hmm.
and are only advertised on overseas platforms when they definitely want to fill the position or somebody is retiring or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And we do not have the enforcement side of work to truly enforce those types of situations and look into them and ensure that our people are not being totally ignored,
Mm-hmm.
even if they apply for the job and qualify for it. No, we don't have nobody. We don't have that. That's sufficient
Mm-hmm.
enforcement arm of the WORC to actually do that.
To go the vetting.
They,
One of the
I,
solutions, caller, for to be honest with you, is actually to consider stricter job ad vetting and enforcement. So that's one of the suggestions that is actually was what I was about to cover, and you hit the nail on the head. But again, it goes into having the right amount of manpower in order to make that happen, which is, you're hearing now, they're preparing a budget and it's not looking good.
no, well, I mean, at $5, they're gonna they're gonna give it a budget that can't even get it off the ground and just sit there
So-
and sit there in limbo like
but
many have done.
That goes to say something though, Calder. You don't put the cart before the horse, because you don't want to say, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. And you may require additional manpower and resources in order to bring some of these things over the line. And because you can't actually, the budget would not, if let's say you have to hire more persons, that actually may slow down what is being promised.
Well, maybe they could do with unhiring some of these PR avoiders that they don't really need. They're just filling them in positions because they friend up in the friend.
Mm-hmm.
Bob all this. No, I know how this whole thing works. I have this all figured out.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, I do. And it's not in our favor at all in any essence of it. If they wanted to protect employment for Caymanians, they would actually be more enforceful than they are. And they're just skimming across the surface right now. They're not even getting into the deep core substance of the Immigration Transition Act.
But do you think it's because it's still a spillover from the separation when you got the border part and then you have the WORC part, whereas more the admin, you got the border security side, and then the legislation's pretty much the operational arm of this, as you rightfully say, needs to look more at Caymanians for its true intended purpose. So would you say, looking forward, that they actually strip away from all of the persons that are non-Caymanian being listed there, and maybe that may encourage more unemployed Caymanians that is really only at 40-something%, 42% right now that is listed there? Do you think that that is another thing to look forward to or for consideration?
And that's something that I would say no to.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a try. Like they've tried the Immigration Transition Act how many times? Look at the front page.
Mm-hmm.
To try it out, make a change, try it out. That didn't work. Try it out again, make another change. And so give it a try. If it don't work, fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Find another way to fix it. Our government keeps us out of everything, and this is our country and our government. We own the government.
Mm-hmm.
The government, I mean, they're not up there to basically dictate to us. They need to include us. An inclusive government or an inclusion government, whatever you want to call it. Forgive my grammar.
No,
Today,
that's fine.
Makes the people out here feel more wanted. You will encourage more people to then go register to vote.
Correct.
You will encourage more people to come out and support you and stand up out in the public forums and say, yeah, I'm here to support you and here's why. But plenty of people don't want to do that because, first of all, the first words come out of most of our people's mouth is this: ain't nothing going to change. No matter what I
and we
say or
need to
do.
stop that. Yeah, we need to change that narrative. Caller, we really need to
Definitely.
change that narrative. And if we actually just, buckle with that narrative, then what do you think will happen? It will continuously then dilute who we are as a people. We're already in the we're already in the minority. Not all hope is lost. There is still hope.
I hope there is hope. And I hope that the NCFC actually shows that they do have hope for us, because right now all I see is Michael Miles working and the rest of them taking pictures. You have a good evening, Sabrina.
Thank you
God
very
bless.
much for your contribution. Yes, it's always a pleasure to get the feedback. And of course, well, they're still in the early days of being elected to political office. And I am quite sure for those of you who understands exactly what it takes, and this is by no means making any excuses for anybody, this is exactly how it is. Right now, they're in the process of getting familiar with their respective ministries. It is now, call it tomorrow, is August. They have to go back to Parliament to present a budget that will then come in effect come January 1st of 2026. You would have noticed that the last sitting of Parliament, the Premier tabled the strategic policy statement that clearly outlines all their plans for this term. But how the budget cycle works is for 2 years at a time. So a term in politics is 4 years. But what they did, instead of doing a yearly budget, because it was taking up so much time, they've done a 2-year budget. So this newly elected government right now is operating on whatever funds remained from the previous elected government. And when they went down to Parliament the other day, they had to get additional funding to make sure that people could get enough medical access. And I don't want to speak out, but there was additional funds and stuff that was actually allocated in order for them to be able to continue to operate, so that government will continue to operate, let's say, until the 31st of December. It's during this time now that this administration is sitting down and discussing what they want to actually try and accomplish, and then try to come up with a budget. Based on what I have heard, there may be some capital projects, big ticketed items that may actually have to be put on hold because the money is just not there, and you do not want to overspend. You have to look at how much money is actually going to be left, so that you don't fall out of the parameters, the boundaries in which our government can operate. So you don't want to say you're going to promise this, and then the money is saying that. And you got to look at what contracts were entered into that you can't get out of, that may actually stop any new plans that was promised by someone who may have made it into this government that they say that they're going to fulfill should they be elected. This is why a cohesion, collaboration, togetherness in that cabinet will be vital for our own success in the next 4 years. Because if they cannot get a budget for at least the next 2 years, and if you think this budget is critical, this is not 26 and 27 financial years. It is a 28 to 29, because that is on the eve of an election. And you know what happens then. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speak. What's on your mind?
Good evening.
Hi.
It's a glass.
I don't know if you're using cordless stuff, but you're going in and out. You're coming across distorted. Hello, caller?
Yeah.
No, your connection is horrid this evening. And I know we have a lot of people that are listening for this voice. Oh my God, if you heard the comments that I'm getting for you.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Oh, now you're
Yeah.
better. Oh yeah, we hearing you like bells out. Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm late to class again today. I heard you say something about leave.
Caller, I
If
want
I'm
you to
taking-
call back. Let's see if it's a better connection. Call back.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Jim, thank you. A deficit. Yeah, they could be in a deficit. That has been repeated, and we have to be careful what we're doing in order. Maybe we have to tighten our belts a bit more. And hello, caller, you're live.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Much better.
Hi.
Mm-hmm.
Um, sorry, I was saying that I was late to class again today.
I could check you
Um,
out, you know. Mm-hmm. I
but
could put up Big Brother's watching. Mm-hmm.
um, but did you speak? Did I hear you speak? Did I catch the tail end of you speaking about employees and taking sick leave and that kind of thing?
Yeah. No, I was talking about the stigma that comes with Caymanians that once they're employed, they called into work just because they have 10 days sick leave. And, you know, they're all different forms of leave as long as it's legitimate. You know, you get your 10 days sick leave, you got compassionate leave, you have other leave that if you go in and have a good relationship with your HR manager, leave can be accommodated. But you don't just take leave because you went out and had a good time or you just don't want to show up to work. And I drew the analogy of a micro and small business, how every person in that organization is critical, and you're actually having to find either coverage or the workload for who actually remains at work increases if you just call in sick because you want to call in sick because you're Caymanian, and then you threaten to go to immigration to say, you know, this and that and that. So that's really, it was a compilation of things.
Well, it got me thinking, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not challenging you because I do think that you should only take leave if you absolutely need it, if it's
Mm-hmm.
necessary, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the law does says that you're allotted 10 sick days for the year. I mean,
Yes.
there's really nothing employers can do about that. So
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, trying to pick your brain actually. Well, two things. I want to pick your brain first, and I want to say something else. I
Remember,
want to
we
ask
had
you
a
something.
transformer that went off yesterday, but don't pick it too hard.
Okay.
Go ahead.
How would you like what system of incentives would you recommend to employers, right? Um, what incentives would you have them design for employees who routinely use all 10 allotted sick days, regardless of actual sickness, to
Mm,
encourage them to reserve that time for genuine health needs while still preserving trust and work-life balance?
very
That's number one.
okay. You want me to answer that?
Yeah, and then I'll
Okay,
go on to number two.
not a problem. I think having been a former owner of a business, incentivizing persons, because we have persons who have worked in organizations that have never been sick. They have always showed up to work. And then you have those who just like, oh yeah, I could create a long weekend just because I can. When those employees actually that don't take their sick days are appreciated by their employers or the organizations, I feel that you would get better productivity out of them. And there's a sense of respect and that pride of being a part of that organization. So for those persons, I feel just like how you could probably consider, well, if you don't take your sick days, maybe consider giving 1 or 2 more days vacation to them, or at the end of whatever your employment year, because an employment year HR isn't January to December. It's usually your year from the day one that you started, right? That's your year. I think employers need to, with discussions of CEOs and owners of these establishments, can do a little bit more in incentivizing their staff, because you do have a lot of good behaving employees and persons who actually run their businesses just as though it was their own. So I feel that people need to be incentivized, people need to be awarded for good behavior, good attitude. And to me, it's a win-win for both parties. Which is why, because you're late to class, I said that even as an employer, the attitudes of some employers actually can impact the environment of an organization.
Correct.
And
Culture is a big thing.
exactly. So kudos for incentivizing good staff. And I think recognition for all staff is key as well, because even those who fall behind will pull it up if they feel they're appreciated and respected.
Well, that leads me into like not point two but 1.5, right? I mean, you have certain organizations where they have their end of year appraisal,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we can all think of at least one business or one employer or one employee where you know you're there and you're giving 110%. You're showing up every day. You're showing that you're invested,
Mm-hmm.
and no matter what you do, right? You can seem to get higher than
Yeah.
mid-tier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you see some people who just barely wing it, and they just sort. And then we've seen examples of this all across work, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, they just get by, and I mean, I mean, how you talk about incentivizing, excellent service and excellent work ethic. I mean, I think what people have to do too is that people have to look at that as well. Because nothing, if I see you and I are coming, I'm working hard, and I'm seeing that you're barely pulling your weight,
Mm-hmm.
but you're getting the same amount of salary I'm getting, or possibly even more. I mean,
What
what
happens there?
incentive is there for me
Or what
to
motivation?
to give them exactly,
Mm-hmm.
apart from any sort of intrinsic motivation that I have? So anyway, that's 1.5.
That's hard to dissect only because that looks as though that would be a culture. And would it be straight across a board, or would that favoritism probably comes from that manager, that supervisor, or that head? And I can understand the awkwardness that other employees may actually feel that they have been placed at a disadvantage because you're pouring out your heart. You may need a lot more stroking of touching. No, oh God, please, I retract that. You may need a lot. Oof, 6 o'clock is coming. But yeah, you may need a lot more acknowledging of and praises to make you perform. And again, this is something that employers and human resources managers need to build a rapport, a relationship with their staff, to know who may need a lot more. Hi, Jim, how are you? How's the day been? I just want to let you know that I'm so happy you were able to finish that project ahead of time. You know what? Here's a gift certificate to wherever. Go and enjoy the weekend. Whereas you may have Sabrina, who's like, okay, you want this job done? Here, I'll give it to you. I don't care. So you got to know your employees. Some need a little bit more attention, more gratitude being shown than others. And this is why it is critical to know the culture, know the environment that you're in. And that's a two-way street. You see what I'm saying? So what may be actually something that will hinder you from performing because you don't feel that you're being recognized by your supervisor, by your director, by your boss. For others, they're like, they don't care, just getting the work done. But that is a culture, and that's investing in your staff and vice versa. I hope that kind of gives a picture as to why some staff may actually feel that way.
Well, I agree 100%. But with now number 2, I wanted to ask you.
Hey, Andre.
And
Honorable Premier.
hello?
Honorable Premier has joined us. He commented, "Hi."
My second question, trying to pick your brain again, is I mean, before work came into place, right? I mean, I remember seeing job adverts in the Cayman Compass, for instance. Not exactly like this, but something along this line, right? Must speak English, Spanish, and Chinese. Must be proficient in this very specific computer program.
Right.
Must have a master's in underwater basketing. Salary $20,000. Caymanians need only apply. Right.
Now we know that's a catch. That's only a play on words.
Well, but there you go, right? I mean,
yeah, that's obvious.
Clearly, that's a work permit renewal, right?
Yeah, but that goes into what I was saying yesterday, actually today, where it said job ad tailoring. And that then is something for those persons on the business staffing plan board and the work permit board to really look at the person that they're applying for, look at the wording used in the advertisement. And you and I figured that out just by you using it in this platform.
Well, the thing is, right, is like on the off chance that you would find a Caymanian who's willing to take that job for that pay, right?
Right.
And what I've heard from other people, I've never had this experience myself, but what I've heard from other people is you'll get one of two responses. Either you're overqualified for the position, or you get the position and you're worked to the bone until they get who they really want for the position, right?
Frustrating the Caymanian then in this case.
Right. So let's say now that, okay, so Sabrina applied for the job. I can speak all those things because she's such a wonderful person, right? And we hire her. I work Sabrina to the bone. Then my friend in Timbuktu, at the end of the contract, I said, okay, Sabrina, thank you so much for your services, but we no longer need you. I get my friend from overseas to come in and get the job. And then I said, you know what? Actually, I'm going to up your salary from 20,000 to 80,000 a year. Right?
Yeah.
Now, I get that work was put in place to kind of capture, well, why is it you want to hire? But is there any mechanism in place at work where they track even pay raises for things like that? Because there are always going to be ways around the system.
It's only, it's hard. You would actually have to have somebody do a deep dive because it's what's declared on the work permit form. That's pretty much like, for example, let's say I'm a member on the work permit board, or I'm a member on the business staffing plan. Some of those agendas can have 200, 300 applications. Unless you're actually looking directly into that organization, that would be hard to pick up, to be honest with you, because they're dealing with really and truly what's before them at that time. Unless somebody blows the whistle, caller, it's hard to really figure it out. But there are, again, integrated support systems, the way forward, based on the data that's being collected here. If you get a good system, those things can be picked up on this portal. You just need to get the right coding. If you see where I'm going, this portal look, we didn't make any errors in introducing this portal. I don't feel that it was optimized. And as the earlier caller said, it was intended for only Caymanians to be listed on this, for them to register. Right. There is still a way forward, but we need to revisit it now so that the country, our Caymanians, as we are empowering Caymanian employment through this portal, that the country is getting value for money. I think it's there. You just need to be able to plug in what you want it to capture in order to actually pick up what you have alluded to.
Okay. I wasn't criticizing the portal. I just wanted
No. But that's what we're talking about, because that is what that's why this topic is being had. Are we getting optimal performance out of it that is actually putting Caymanians at the forefront?
All right. Thank you. I'm listening.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. Oops, I guess they dropped off. Hey, Jim. Going back to some of the comments, and yes, let me publicly acknowledge the Honorable Premier. Greetings, Sabrina. Greetings to you, Honorable Premier. Good to see you. And I think this is your first time logging in on our show. Jim says, empower your employees, Lisa Brightly. Sometimes, Sabrina, that's not happening. And it all depends on what I was saying at the time. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening. I just have something about where I work.
Pardon me?
My workplace, right?
Mm-hmm.
The manager, he's on permit, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have residence with the right to work.
Mm-hmm.
He will cut my hours, but the one them on permit, he don't cut their hours. So when I ask why my hours cut,
mm-hmm. I'm hearing you. If you turn down whatever it is you're listening to and just pay attention to how you're speaking to me, then you won't get confused because there's a little delay. So if you turn down the TV or whatever it is that is playing in the background, you can have a better conversation with me.
Okay, you're hearing me now?
I was hearing you. You were just listening to yourself. So go ahead.
So he would give the one them on work permit more hours than we. So like, why are my hours cut and they are not cut, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, but we have all mouth to feed. Yes, I understand. I said, I have my kids them here to take care of. If you don't like it, you know what he said, if you don't like it, you have the ability to work at a place. I said, this is not how it works. If my hours cut, I feel like everybody hours to cut. And he keep on, I speak to him, I said, this is not fair. I'm going to work to complain about this because I don't like how they cheat. They cheat you, like the permit holder them. They cheat them better than how they would cheat the Caymanian and the PR holder. I'm telling you, in my workplace, they treat you like we are nothing.
Oh, wow.
And because they are the manager and they have this in advance, they just push you aside. You have to just take it or you leave it.
So you feel that, as I had said, caller, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us, because this is what this space is encouraging, to let this be known. And we do not want to be able to identify you. We're going to protect you in that case. But exactly what you're describing is why this space is here. Because what I said earlier on is that Caymanians have felt that they have been disenfranchised for far too long, that the negative against them is Caymanian. Same as being said, as this caller is saying right now, PR holders and spouse of Caymanians. Now that is a culture change. Why would one organization feel that because one is on a work permit and their employees then who are permanent resident holders are Caymanians needs less hours than the one that's on the work permit? It goes right back to the previous caller's concern that there's unfairness and a biasness to Caymanians, permanent resident holders, and you don't have
any speech because your manager is on a permit also. So they treat you like you are nobody and you don't have a voice. You understand? And I told them I have to put it out there to make them know. In my workplace, I see the Caymanian them come there. They use them to do the lower standard and push the other nationality up with on permit. And I don't feel like that is fair.
And this is why the unfairness has to stop. Yes.
The young Caymanian them, I see it with my eyes. The young Caymanian them that come an internship. They put them at the lower work and put the permit holder them high. And I like, why it's like this? This not right. Same like how they can train the permit holder for the position. Why they can't train Caymanian for the position?
Thank you so much.
Because a lot of them come in, ma'am. They don't know nothing. They train them from scratch. And you know what I see in the workplace? They train us as a PR holder for the position, and then put the permit holder them in the position and push us behind. Just push us in another corner. I said, why I'm here? Oh, when you get some experience, I will put you to that when our next a position available, I put you there. Until now, they don't put you there.
So then you're saying then that at the end of the day, the persons that are on work permits are still not having the required skill set to fill the role, but they are still being placed above those who are permanent residence holders or Caymanians that are trained.
Right, because the manager they're from the same country and they are on permit too.
So this is what we call nepotism, friendship, and who is there advocating for Caymanians in these organizations is why I'm so happy. And I want to publicly thank you for calling in to actually speak from a place of being informed, because you're in that environment. Now, what needs to be established, caller, is that where would be a safe place, a government agency that you would be able to go, be dealt with dignity and confidentiality, to actually just air what you're saying without being placed at a disadvantage or that leaking to your place of employ. Because what complaint you're actually describing right here now is something that should not be happening. But how are you able then to go freely into, let's say, a government department, which is the best place to go, and be treated with professionalism, dignity, and confidentiality, that you feel safe to go and report this so that, you know, there is a positive outcome and this type of behavior then is practiced. And I know for a fact that the mere fact that our honorable premier is here, and I know we have all of the persons who are listening, that this will not go on deaf ears, because I alluded to this in about 2 or 3 earlier shows, that confidentiality is key. And some persons voiced, caller, that they're even scared to go and report where they're being disenfranchised in the workplace, because many a times before they actually leave, their supervisors or their workplace know that they went there to either get information or to file a report. So I thank you for being bold. I thank you for being brave, but I am speaking now to the powers at be, and for everyone that works in these government departments that are there to do a national job. If we say that we want to empower Caymanian employment, that you look at your role and understand that confidentiality is key. Good evening, caller. I don't know if that other caller dropped off. Good evening, caller. You're live.
Hi, Sabrina.
Hi.
Yes, speaking or commenting on what you're speaking of, there is really no place like that for anyone to go to talk about a complaint, a grievance, their concerns. If you go to the Labor Department, of course, you have to be the victim yourself. And of course, you have to sign a document stating that you give them the approval to contact your employer. And then it's like, you sit across from a table to discuss the situation and worked out or whatever. And then when it comes to WORC, of course, you have to have the proper documentation to back up, support your complaint, and you want to make sure that it is very detailed. You are organized. Then if they feel like you have a real complaint, then you go through the process of giving a statement. And then, of course, that depends on where that goes. It can go to the DPP's office. It could go elsewhere. But you also have to be concerned, and you have to, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And there's some people that are in positions in these departments that know certain people and do go and tell certain people. And sometimes it does get back to the employers. So this is a problem, because this is another reason why so many people are afraid to speak up.
Correct.
Out. I was not, as you know. And it's very concerning for me, because especially with them talking about the changing the laws of immigration for a job that you have to stay in that position for 2 years. Well, what happens to the people that are being abused?
Yeah, by unscrupulous employers. Yeah.
Right. I mean, taken advantage of, abused, they're stuck. They're stuck. And that not only affects them physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in every way, shape, and form. And this was my concern when I heard that, people would have to stay in their position for 2 years. Then you're telling that employee that they have to be abused, or they have to leave. And a lot of people can't afford to leave.
Correct.
So that is something that they really need to take a deeper look at,
to create that space where persons can feel safe to go and report, and it's dealt with dignity and the strictest confidentiality.
Right. And like I said, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
My employer even said to me, "Oh, I have an in at immigration.
Oh,
I can get the information I need." Well, I wasn't worried about who you know. So I also know people as well, but I wasn't going to
go there,
post about who I knew and what I consider. So, but to speak on behalf of employees, because I was a voice, the advocate for employees who are being mistreated and being taken advantage of. And the law also needs to be looked at, or the change of, if somebody is found to be doing scrupulous business practices, but they need to compensate or pay back the employees that they took advantage of and took from.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't happen.
Right.
You know, the employer gets a smack on the wrist and gets a fine, but the employees are still suffering,
Still stuck. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and doing without. And
Yes.
it's not working for the employees. It's more beneficial the way it is for the employers.
Correct. Understood.
And that's a major concern that I think really needs to be looked at, addressed, and you know, taken wherever it needs to be taken.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. Thank you, caller. I know we've got another call, and I'm still trying to make sure I can merge some of these calls. So caller, you can call back. The phone line is open. There we go. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Hi again, Sabrina. It's
Hi.
Terry from the
Yes,
Bluff.
hi.
I didn't want to call back, but
I must be doing something good today. We're hearing from the
Yes,
Brack twice.
this need to be a 3-hour show. It is a good show today. A lot of people would be definitely tuned in on their way home.
Thank you.
The caller, I support what this last caller said. We all know that occurs. That's just the culture of the Department of Labor and Pensions. And that ain't gonna change unless they go in there and dig them up and shake them off. Anyways, the caller
digress.
before, the lady who called, said about all the stuff going on in her job, at her employment and stuff like that, and how they treat people with PR and status different, and Caymanians differently from people with work permits and XYZ. Well, I don't know if you were even aware of this, but I'm going to try to summarize it as quickly as I can. But prior to 2014, over a few years, people kept saying to me, Carrie, I'm sick of training these people up in this office here, and they're on work permits, and I find out they're making $2,000 more a month than me, and I had to train them for X amount of weeks or whatever to do my job, and they're making double what I'm making. And that went on for several years with our people coming to me and telling me that. And finally, when the Freedom of Information Act got passed and enacted, that you could write in and ask for information, I wrote in to the Immigration Department, and I requested an FOI based on everyone that was on a work permit, the name of the company, the title of the permit, how long the permit was for, the nationality of the person that was there, or the title of the job, sorry, which is the same as the title of the permit, I guess. And when the permit was expiring, it had nobody's personal name. It would have had Sabrina job title in there, for example, but your name, Sabrina Turner, would not show. A company that job title is got a permit active in was listed. So I published it on one of my pages, you know them, that very controversial pages, and I got in so much trouble for that. I got sued by Dan Scott at Ernst & Young and a bunch of them, jointly with the Immigration Department, for releasing an FOI under an ex parte summons. They took it in an ex parte summons. The Department of Immigration got invited. They never invited me. The media was there. They had the Chief Justice at the time, Anthony Smelly, ruled against the publishing of that out there in the public, so that people could go and get their HR in their offices they were working in to say, hey, look, how is it you just brought this person in on a permit 6 months ago, 3 months ago, or whatever, and this is the position they're in now, and this is what they're making. And I'm in the same title job, been here 5, 6, 7 years, 17 years, and I'm making half of what they're making. Their salary is double mine. And that was the whole purpose of that FOI, Sabrina. And of course, I got sued. I lost so much because of that. Oh my goodness. But I went and I challenged the system to give me information, so our people, to prove to our people what that caller just called in, told you. And nothing was ever done about it. I got penalized for coming out in the public and letting our people know that they were being, their wages was a disenfranchise to them for the work they were doing. And they could have used that tool to go and get that raise to where they should be making the wages they're supposed to be making, as their parallel person in the organization with them was also making, who had just joined and they had to train. So there is this major situation going on in our financial and our entire business community, the Cayman Islands. And we do not have a Department of Labor and Pensions that actually has any guts or glory about them to ensure that this disenfranchising of our people in those same businesses in this manner is not being done, because WORC can't do anything about it. It has to be the Labor Department do something about it. And if you don't complain, then they ain't going to do nothing about it. And that's why I say quite a few of our agencies in this category, the labor and pensions and them, they should be stepping up to the plate. And, you know, even the ombudsman's office listens to all these shows and hear of all the things going on. And not one of them pick up the mantle and say, okay, let's find out who this was all about. Let's see if we can assist them with getting that. They don't do that. You have to go and complain to them, send them a plethora of information, and then they will come back and tell you they're not going to jurisdiction over that. This is the foolishness that people are enduring out here as well, with other agencies of the government that are not producing. I tell it on my show all the time. We are not getting value for money out of the civil service. Not all of them. I've never condemned every civil servant in this country, but some of the departments, and work is one of them, labor is another one, that don't do enough. They could be doing so much more. An entire plethora of more services for people. Listen here, Sabrina. We pay in stash at Eden rent every month up here in Stake Bay. Okay, for office space for the Department of Labor and Pensions. And the only time I saw somebody up here in the 4 years I've been here, tomorrow will be exactly 4 years I landed here permanently back home. The only time I seen somebody there was for about 3 days, about 2 years ago or a year ago, somewhere in that range. Nobody up here, and there's so much labor issues up here, especially with people on work permits. And they're up here circumventing the laws, circumventing the system. And there's nobody up here to see that that's wrong what you're doing. Nothing, no labor department for them to go hell. You know, you got a person with a permit, say you're kitchen staff, but you're nanny at night, you know, and you don't have no change of your permit for that. And these people are abusing their staff up here in those areas as well. We don't have no department
But
labor
then that's an
represented up
enforcement
here.
arm. That's an enforcement arm. And it goes back to exactly what we were saying. We need to government need to consider finding a safe place where persons can actually go and report these things without being feel that they're going to be actually exposed, or, you know, like when you got to give evidence and you're actually wanting to be kept for confidentiality. You're
Right.
bringing these things to the forefront. But if people are saying that we have not created that space, despite there being a department in government where people should be able to go to report these things, that, as you rightfully say, is based on feedback received, that they don't trust it. It is not confidential.
Yep.
And that's been the feedback. So we're happy that we're in this space, that these can be aired, because we're not coming after the staff. Maybe the staff don't even realize what they're doing, but they need to understand the importance of confidentiality and how it can impact those persons who are coming to actually get information, know their rights as to right or wrong from an employer's behavior, and at the end of the day, make a complaint and investigate it. But if it requires case management training from even all sectors, then that's another discussion, but that's the operational arm of the civil service.
Well, the only thing I can say to add to that is persons, especially, I'm just, for those on work permits who may not know they're doing something wrong, no, they know, because you're given a copy of your work permit, and attached to that is 2 pages, as you and I know,
Yeah.
stating that you cannot violate this license in these manners, meaning you can't work, do another job, and you can't do this, you can't do it's all there. So they can't say they don't know if they doing you know, trucking at end of the day and babysitting at night. I'm just saying, you
But
know.
if John Public knows that somebody's working in immigration's lingo, in their language, outside the terms and conditions of their work permit, where did they go to report that? And the person that's making the report, how can we protect them in order for pointing this out is where the big question lies. You said it over there in the Sister Islands that this office, I don't know, is not operating or that it's not open enough. And you're wondering whether or not there's getting value for money for it. Again, that would be the place that persons would go and make these reports too. But again, small island, everybody knows everybody. Maybe the person working behind there may know the person that they're going to complain about who's in breach of these immigration laws. That has a lot to do with it as well. What if the person that is working in that department is family member to example, what that you've given? You're not going to feel comfortable going there and making the report because you're going to have to give key information. That's one of the downsides, again, of being a small community like we are, and worse, Little Cayman and Caymanian.
Right. Well, under WORC, they do have a complaint section. You can go and send a complaint to them because apparently that's how they got some complaint about me, which is all false anyway. And you can go up there and make a complaint, but you know, they only restrict the areas of making the complaint about to Grand Cayman. They don't have a drop down in it for Caymanian or Little Cayman. So
well, here
again,
you go. We just aired it right here.
There you go. I mean, it is absolutely as if we don't exist. You know, I'll talk about some stuff like this tomorrow on my show, but I am highlighting the maladministration because that's what it is. And nobody is addressing it. Nobody is stepping up to the plate to ensure that people are not being victimized as well by areas of the civil service that has got so much of this maladministration. You know how many things I've paid for and can't get the money back because they refused them? And then I refund my money, Sabrina? I am sick of it. They owe me $14,265 and I'm sick of waiting on it. So I'm just telling you, this is refund from before COVID that I'm chasing. So it's just a plethora of things going on in our government, and nobody in management is getting in the dirty grooves of it and cleaning out the stuff that they've stuffed in the cracks because they don't want to deal with it because it's a challenge for them and they don't know how to deal with challenges. Anyways, my dear, you have
caller.
a good show.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You're welcome. You too.
Good evening, caller. I know you've been calling in for a while. Welcome to the show, and you're live.
You need to limit your calls, and I got said I don't care whether she like it or not. But she done called in one time. They can't take up the whole goddamn show. And I never.
Oh, we don't have a 9:30 caller. We don't have a 9 caller. We got to keep it above board. Go ahead. What's on your mind? Hello? Oh, I guess that.
Especially after calling in one time, give somebody else a chance. I'm not going to bother say what I want to say, but some people are long-winded. They must have been supposed to be divers.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good evening. Caller, back to the show. I want to share some of the comments right here. Amy is saying true. That's true. The corruption is a change straight to the top, and sad we need to choose humanity over money. Miss Dorothy, hi, welcome to you. Let's see what this commenter is saying. Good evening. Thank you for taking the time to address these very important issues. When a company posts a job on WORC Jobs Portal because their current employee needs a work permit renewal, and a qualified Caymanian candidate applies and interviews for a position through the WORC portal, what exactly does the employer have to do to prove to WORC that the Caymanian is not a good candidate? The interview offered to the Caymanian often seems like a formality and a pointless exercise. Let me see if I can see more. and a pointless exercise when, and I think that comment. Okay. Okay, when a Caymanian actually applies, sometimes WORC or the Work Permit Board or the Business Staffing Plan Board is not even aware that in many cases a qualified Caymanian applied, because that actual board or committee that's making the decision on that application really only have what information is before them, which it goes back to the importance of persons, Caymanians, registering on the jobs portal. Let's say this Caymanian that was disenfranchised, and based on your question, was not registered, but that company failed to acknowledge that that Caymanian who's qualified applied for the job. The board can only make a decision based on what information they have before them and what's entailed in the cover letter. Now, the requirements for the consideration of a work permit and the onus of the organization, aka the employer, should be truthful in declaring. But we realize what happened the other day where an organization was found guilty of not doing the very same thing that you actually have stated here. So really and truly, we need to encourage more persons who are seeking jobs, Caymanians, to actually go and register on this portal. And then as we continue to improve that portal, because we're now putting the focus on empowering Caymanian employment through this portal, just by having this conversation, they will look at ways in which they can improve what is already in place. We really don't have to reinvent the wheel, to be honest. We just need to be able to code it enough so that it can yield the amount of information, but we need the people to actually go and register. 42% is not a clear reflection of persons and Caymanians out there who could be looking for a job when they feel that just being registered on this portal means that they're not good enough. That's the PR that needs to be done. That's the shift in the stigma that comes with registering on this portal that needs to be had by our government agencies. And I'm hoping that by means of this discussion, by what you have heard being aired here, that some of these improvements will actually happen, some of the changes will take place, and persons will feel proud to actually register on the WORC Jobs Portal. Christopher Bryan, what happens to the job? What happens if the job is advertised elsewhere and not with WORC? Is it a requirement for all employers to list job openings with WORC? Yes. And worse, if they're going to apply for a work permit. Which, again, it goes back to what I said, Christopher, that if Caymanians are not uploading their CVs and are not going to this portal, you ain't gonna know. You're not gonna know. All persons who are looking for a job or employers have a job vacancy, these positions are registered with the jobs portal. Those Caymanians that are registered on this portal, right now, it's only trending at 42%, and I stand to be corrected. I'm hoping after this show that we will see a lot more persons making sure they're uploading their credentials, and that some of these suggestions will be taken into consideration. But when those positions are advertised elsewhere, you can still put it in the newspaper. But if you're going to still need a work permit, according to law, it has to be uploaded on the portal, Christopher. So the aim of this is to let people know the importance of all the Caymanians, especially, and those who are, let's expand that a little bit. All Caymanians, all spouse of Caymanians, all permanent resident holders should be allowed to register on the jobs portal. And based on the discussions that are being had here right now, it is alleged that even persons who are not Caymanians, who are not spouse of Caymanians, who are not permanent resident holders now, are actually able to register on this jobs portal. if we are saying we're going to shift the tides and really empowering Caymanian employment through the workforce opportunities and residency Cayman, then we really need to just limit it to those three categories: Caymanians, spouse of Caymanians, and permanent residency holder. Christopher Bryan says, my recent experience is that I have applied to my job positions over the past 6 months. Every job is on LinkedIn, but not on WORC. Now, I'll try to inquire exactly what's going on there and definitely give you an update. But by all means, we welcome persons from that department to come on here and explain it. So, as we rightfully do, let's see it from their side. I think the public deserves it. Now, you notice I've gone over, right, by 15 minutes. I know I'm smiling. That's because the transformer blew yesterday. So I could push it till 7 just for you, but keep it going because I like my numbers. But yes, Christopher. So let's hope. And I don't know how early you joined this podcast, Chris, but I also said that some managers and some persons are actually, as you rightfully say, even posting positions on Facebook. But should there be the need for a work permit to be applied for, what is out there is that these positions need to be posted on the WORC portal prior to the application being viewed or seen by the work permit board, or should the organization have a business staffing plan. So again, with all of the information that's been shared here today, with all the experiences, I think the big takeaway is that this portal needs some work, more collaboration, as we're doing right here, is needed. But the biggest takeaway that I'm getting here today is that there needs to be a secured space where people feel safe, that they will be handled with dignity should they have a gripe, a complaint, or just want to air what they are actually experiencing in their workplace. And I feel that that is really something that should be one of the biggest takeaway from this discussion. And that I'm really hoping that there months to come that we will hear some success stories and get some testimonials that this portal here is actually improved and that we can get some great feedback. But yes, I'm really hoping that, you know, what is yield from the discussions being had here, that the powers at be and the operational side of things would not look at it as that we're coming after them or that we're criticizing. No. We're not doing that. We're having the real talks because your voice matters. And, you know, stories are unfolding here. And as I said at the entrance, at the thing, you know, inspiration takes center stage. And maybe this may inspire new job opportunities and inspire persons who are given of service as civil servants, that they look at their roles totally different, to see that they're offering their services at a national level. And that impacts the quality of life and the lives of so many people that we call our own. So if we say that we definitely are going to be empowering Caymanian employment, this is a space that we need to look at. And I'm hoping that all of the information that is shared here will not fall on deaf ears, and that, you know, this could be something that I could be reporting on, or definitely have some of the persons from the respective departments, the operational arm, or whomever wants to come and shed some light on this for this space. I can't see them losing, to be honest. But that pretty much would clear the air here. But the future outlooks for this is, it is key that we look at the continued importance of WORC and what role this really plays. The importance of using technology advancements and ongoing. We need to have some sort of metrics to measure and clean up the data and understand it for the purpose in which this intended portal was used for, and stronger collaboration, definitely. we also need nationally to definitely look, and based on discussions I'm hearing this, focus on skills and skills development, and pretty much look at the structural barriers. But most importantly, I want some of us to really look at what barriers we may have for ourselves, and really look at ourselves in that mirror and see where maybe we can probably brush up on our attitudes a little bit more. And I want that whole narrative, this broad brush that is being used against us Caymanians, that we are all not worth it. We come with a stink attitude. We only want to work for Friday. There's no advancement for us, and hiring us is a disservice. We're going to dispel that. We're going to dispel that, and we're going to show them who and what we're made of, because we're empowering Caymanian employment. And it takes everyone to do their part. And I'm so happy for the bravery of those of you who comment here, those of you who call. And I think this is a catalyst of change, and only good can come out of this space because of how we are tackling, how we're actually engaging with one another through this space. It can only put us at a higher standard that will then yield a better quality of life for us all. Jim, thank you so much. Great show of information for both the employer and the employee. And well wishes. Stay strong, Cayman. You know, I'm not tossing in the towel here. I think we were at a crossroads. I think that the Cayman Islands is poised, and we're in a very good position that we can actually reclaim who we are with dignity, respect. And for those of us who want to remain a part of us, they can be absorbed as well, respectfully, and understand exactly what is expected of everybody. But as I wrap up, it is clear that, in all honesty, that the WORC Jobs Portal holds a tremendous potential. But to be honest with you, unlocking that potential will require continued dedication. It will require innovation, and most of all, accountability. And that's not accountability just on government, the operational side. That's accountability on every single one of us as Caymanians, as spouse of Caymanians, and also as permanent resident holders. Now, the vision is bold. A Caymanian workforce that is empowered, employed, and equipped to lead across every sector of our economy. We can look at from even refining the portal's, let's say, user experience. We've heard so much complaint about that, to enforcing, let's say, fair job advertising and integrating this wraparound employment support. There's so much more that can be done, but it requires every one of us. And what's at stake to all of my family on this space is just not employment. It's equity, it's dignity, and the true future of Caymanian identity in our labor landscape. Let me see if I can remember what I said. What is at stake here is not just employment, ladies and gentlemen. It's equity, it's dignity, and the future of Caymanian identity in our labor landscape. And with the right commitment from not only our government, but from employers, each one of you, the community, that very same WORC's Jobs Portal can actually transform. It can be transformed from, it may be diluted now as a helpful tool, into a true cornerstone of Caymanian empowerment. And that is why that title was so fitting, because we have to start somewhere. So I can only implore you, let's keep asking the hard questions, sharing the real experiences, and definitely holding ourselves to the promise of opportunity for everyone. That's my show today. I thank all of you for logging on, for staying with me, for commenting and sharing. And for Jackie, good evening. Hey, Mr. Williams, I'm My happy mother. Oh, hi. Pray for me every day because them like expats a bit. Okay. I put that up there. Have a good evening, Sabrina. Yes, Lisa, thank you. Same to you. But it was indeed a pleasure. And if you're liking, as I said, the content that is shared here, whatever social media platform that you are streaming on, be it all CMR TV, please like and share and tell your friend. If you're on YouTube, also go ahead and you can find me at Sabrina Speaks, the number 12. Like, share, and subscribe. Until tomorrow, I am excited. Everybody knows me on Fridays. Oh, yeah, it's another Wind Down Friday, and I am busting at the seams. I got a new musician, a well known local musician that we're definitely going to be pulling the curtains on, and we're going to toast to the weekend. Until tomorrow, have a safe, blessed Thursday evening. Love you lots as usual. That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.